watching Auto News Now. I'm Kristen Strakalitis. On today's episode, Jamie Butters, host of the Daily Drive podcast, sat down with retail reporters Melissa Burden and Jack Walsworth. They talked about the surge in dealership transactions in 2021, why it occurred, and what takeaways Automotive News unearthed in its detailed review of buy-sell data.
Melissa Burden and Jack Walsworth, welcome to Daily Drive.
Hi, Jamie.
Jamie, thanks.
So we had you just did this big package, comprehensive look at the buy-sell market, and particularly the all the transactions you were able to track from 2021. One thing that really stood out to me, and of course it was a huge year for buy-sells all through the year, but in particular the fourth quarter had such a surge. Is there any particular reason behind that?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie, for having us on. We've been tracking this pretty extensively over the past year plus and found there was a very large surge, as you said, of transactions in the fourth quarter. We've counted more than 150 actually, and more than 300 rooftops that traded hands. And what led to that, was a couple things. One, dealers generally, we've been told by many that they like to get their transactions done by the end of the year for tax planning purposes, and as well as just for their current tax year to have that information and have those transactions done. And secondly, there was a lot of chatter last year about capital gains taxes. There was worry that there was going to be a pretty large spike in the tax rate in 2022. So a lot of dealers in the middle of the year kind of decided that they wanted to take advantage of what they thought was going to be a lower tax rate in 2021, and actually put their dealerships on the market and actually had plans to sell them by the end of the year. And some of that did not materialize. Obviously, there hasn't been that big spike this year in the capital gains tax that some had talked about, but a lot of those deals were already in process, and they decided to sell last year. Another reason, real quick, is just that they had the pricing that dealers were able to get for their stores was much elevated, higher than really it had been at that point. And so a lot of dealers that were of age of retirement decided they wanted to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's a financial decision, it's a business decision, but it's also a very personal decision. So I'm sure once somebody commits themselves, even if part of it's because of a hypothetical tax change that doesn't come to pass, once you're committed, you're in, and it's going to happen. So it was really interesting, amazing to see almost half the deals, almost half of the franchises that changed hands, all happening in just that fourth quarter. Jack, I wanted to ask you about the public dealerships. They had such a big impact on the market. More than $9.5 billion in acquisitions last year. This is kind of a mind-blowing number. It would certainly make a big splash. What was going on there?
Yeah, it was just one of those things. Lithia and Asbury were the only two publics to make an acquisition in 2020. And then last year, each of the six majors made a deal. But really, I think a lot of it goes to Lithia. They've been very open that they want to grow their dealership footprint count across the country, and they've been sticking to that. And in April, they bought the Suburban Collection here in Metro Detroit, which was 34 dealerships. So that really pretty early on into the year, that was kind of really a sign of things to come, with some of the other publics also making large acquisitions or mega deals, as we referred to them. So later in September, so quite a bit later that year, Sonic, Group One, and Asbury all announced pending deals for mega deals, and it was pretty much a 3-week stretch in September where we get announcements that these were coming. It's kind of like when it rains, it pours, but they kept getting bigger, and the Asbury one was the biggest of the bunch with the acquisition of Larry H. Miller. So yeah, it was very aggressive, a lot of money spent, and really throughout the country. Group One going to the Northeast, Lithia pretty much bought everywhere, including the Southeast, but they don't really have much of a presence in the Midwest. And then Asbury kind of going out west, and Sonic pretty much going for Midwest and Western states with RFJs. So yeah, definitely a lot of activity from the publics, and a huge reason as to why the numbers this year in terms of buy sells were so elevated.
Well, and especially those two, right? Lithia and Asbury. Lithia, Brian DeBoer says, I'm going to, double the business. We're going to, or quadruple the business. We're going to get huge and be clearly had eyes on being a national brand and being able to do digital retail nationally. But then it was Asbury last year with the Park Place deal, sort of the first billion-dollar deal in a long time, that ended up getting retooled a bit. But yeah, then we saw Lithia back with Suburban and Asbury again later with Larry Miller. It was just they've both been, it's fast and furious.
Yep. And interesting enough, the final tally, Lithia acquired 67 U.S. dealerships and Asbury acquired 65. So it was almost almost a tie. Couldn't have got much closer than that.
Thanks for tuning in. Listen now to Jamie's full interview and the day's headlines on the Daily Drive podcast, available on all podcasting platforms. Have a great day.